Preparing for a insurance claims operations for Genpact, WNS, EXL, Chubb, and MetLife GOSC interview? You've reached Candy Mentor, and this video is for you. We'll walk through 15 key questions you're likely to face. For each one, you'll see what the interviewer is testing, the core concepts you should cover, and a sample answer. Subscribe, like, and share, and drop a topic request in the comments. Question 1. Can you walk me through the end-to-end insurance claims lifecycle? The interviewer wants to assess your understanding of the full claims workflow, operational handoffs, customer touchpoints, documentation requirements, controls, and how claims move from notification to settlement and closure. While answering, focus on FNOL, claim registration, validation, coverage review, reserve setup, assessment, approval, payment, closure, customer communication, and audit-ready documentation throughout the process. Insurance claims operations is the end-to-end process of receiving, validating, adjudicating, paying, and closing a claim. I would describe the flow as FNOL, claim registration, document review, coverage and liability checks, reserve setup, assessment, approval, payment, and closure. The goal is to settle valid claims accurately, quickly, and fairly, while controlling leakage, meeting regulatory timelines, and keeping the customer informed throughout the claim journey. Good operations balances empathy with disciplined controls and audit-ready documentation. Question 2. What information should be captured during FNOL, and why is it so important? The interviewer is testing your understanding of first notice of loss quality, data capture, claim routing, customer experience, and how early information impacts downstream investigation, reserves, and settlement accuracy. Make sure to cover policy details, claimant information, loss date, cause of loss, location, damages, injuries, documents, contact details, urgency, routing, and impact of incomplete FNOL data. FNOL is the first notice of loss, so it sets up the entire claim. I would capture policy details, claimant information, date and location of loss, cause, damages, injuries, police or hospital references, and contact details. I would also explain next steps, required documents, expected timelines, and any urgent support. If FNOL is incomplete, downstream teams face rework, wrong routing, delayed reserves, and poor customer experience. Question 3. How do you distinguish between coverage verification and liability assessment? This question evaluates whether you can separate policy applicability from fault determination, interpret claim facts logically, and understand why both coverage and liability decisions must be documented clearly. In your answer, talk about policy status, insured risk, effective dates, exclusions, limits, deductibles, loss facts, responsible party, liability percentage, and evidence supporting each decision. A coverage check confirms whether the policy responds to the reported event. I first verify policy status, insured name, risk location, effective dates, premium status, endorsements, exclusions, limits, and deductibles. Then I compare the loss facts with policy wording and any jurisdictional requirements. Liability assessment is separate. It asks who is responsible and to what extent. Clean documentation of both decisions protects the insurer during audits, complaints, and litigation. Question 4. What is a claims reserve, and how would you approach reserve setting and review? The interviewer wants to assess your understanding of reserves, financial impact, claims severity estimation, periodic review discipline, and how claims operations links to actuarial, finance, and reporting teams. Be sure to mention expected claim cost, severity indicators, policy limits, legal expenses, medical or repair estimates, reserve adequacy, periodic review, and the consequences of over-reserving or under-reserving. A reserve is the insurer's best estimate of the future cost of a claim. I would set it based on available facts, injury severity, repair estimates, policy limits, legal involvement, historical averages, and expected expenses. It should be reviewed as new information arrives, not left static. If reserves are too low, financial reporting is distorted. If too high, capital is unnecessarily tied up. Good reserve notes explain the rationale clearly. Question 5. What documents would you verify before processing a motor, health, life, or property claim? The interviewer is testing your document verification discipline, attention to detail, understanding of claim evidence, and ability to prevent wrong payments, fraud, rework, and compliance exceptions. While answering, focus on identity proof, policy details, claim form, incident evidence, invoices, medical or repair reports, bank details, ownership proof, authenticity checks, completeness, and consistency across documents. For a motor or property claim, I would request documents that prove identity, policy coverage, loss occurrence, and quantum. Examples include claim form, policy number, photos, repair estimate, invoice, police report, medical report, bank details, and ownership proof. I would check completeness, authenticity, consistency of dates and amounts, and whether documents match the loss description. Missing or contradictory documents should be followed up promptly to avoid wrongful payment or unnecessary delay. Question 6. How would you calculate or validate a claim settlement amount? This question evaluates your ability to apply policy terms, calculate payable amounts accurately, understand approval controls, and explain settlement logic in a way that is auditable and customer-ready. Make sure to cover gross loss, policy limits, deductibles, depreciation, coinsurance, exclusions, prior payments, recoveries, authority matrix, payment validation, and clear documentation of the final calculation. Adjudication means deciding the payable amount after validating coverage, liability, documents, and policy terms. I would calculate gross loss, apply depreciation or agreed value rules, deductibles, coinsurance, limits, exclusions, prior payments, and recoveries. Then, I would route the claim for approval, as per authority matrix. Before payment, I would verify payee details and tax or compliance requirements. The final settlement note should show how the amount was derived. Question 7. In a high-volume claims process, how do you manage SLA, TAT, backlog, and quality together? The interviewer wants to assess your operational mindset, particularly relevant to Genpact, WNS, and EXL environments, where productivity, accuracy, queue management, SLA compliance, and escalation discipline are closely measured. In your answer, talk about prioritization, aging buckets, regulatory deadlines, dashboards, work allocation, pending reasons, escalation, quality checks, first-time right processing, and not sacrificing controls for speed. In Genpact, WNS, or EXL type operations, SLA discipline is critical because carriers measure speed, accuracy, backlog, and customer outcomes. I would track claims by age, priority, complexity, and pending reason. High-value, regulatory, complaint, and vulnerable customer cases should be escalated first. For volume work, I would use daily dashboards, queue hygiene, clear handoffs, and root cause fixes. Meeting TAT should never mean bypassing coverage checks or quality controls. Question 8. What is claims leakage, and how can operations teams reduce it? The interviewer is testing your awareness of financial loss drivers in claims, including overpayment, missed recoveries, weak controls, duplicate processing, vendor issues, and inaccurate policy application. Be sure to mention duplicate payments, missed deductibles, incorrect coverage decisions, poor liability assessment, vendor invoice control, subrogation opportunities, system validations, authority limits, and quality review. Claims leakage is money paid above what the policy and facts justify, or recoveries not pursued. It can come from duplicate payments, missed deductibles, weak liability assessment, incorrect coding, poor vendor control, or not identifying subrogation. I would prevent it through checklists, system validations, peer review, authority limits, fraud triggers, and strong notes. The aim is not underpayment. It is accurate, fair settlement with defensible evidence. Question 9. What fraud red flags would you look for while handling claims? This question evaluates your ability to identify suspicious patterns without bias, follow escalation procedures, protect the insurer from fraud, and maintain fair treatment of genuine customers. While answering, focus on inconsistent statements, late reporting, recent policy changes, inflated invoices, repeat claimants, missing originals, connected parties, staged loss indicators, documentation, and SIU escalation. I treat fraud detection as evidence-based, not assumption-based. Red flags include late reporting, inconsistent statements, recently purchased or increased coverage, missing originals, staged loss indicators, exaggerated invoices, repeat claimants, or parties connected to vendors. I would document the concern, compare with policy and claim history, and escalate to SIU or the fraud team under the process. I would not accuse the customer directly or delay unfairly without reason. Question 10. Can you explain subrogation and why it matters in claims operations? The interviewer wants to assess your understanding of recoveries, third-party liability, loss ratio improvement, documentation discipline, and the importance of identifying subrogation opportunities early in the claim lifecycle. Make sure to cover recovery from responsible third parties, liability evidence, police reports, third-party insurer details, preservation of rights, notices, correct coding, and impact on net claim cost. Subrogation is the insurer's right to recover claim payments from a responsible third party. A simple example is paying our insured for vehicle damage, then recovering from the at-fault driver's insurer. I would identify it early through liability facts, police reports, witness statements, and third-party details. Preserving evidence, sending timely notices, and coding the claim correctly matter. Recoveries reduce net claim cost and improve loss ratios. Question 11. How would you communicate with an upset policyholder whose claim is delayed? This question evaluates your customer service maturity, empathy, escalation judgment, communication clarity, and ability to manage expectations while staying compliant and avoiding unauthorized commitments. In your answer, talk about acknowledging concern, checking claim status, explaining pending requirements, giving realistic timelines, documenting communication, avoiding false promises, and escalating genuine service failures. A claims conversation often happens when the customer is stressed, so clarity and empathy matter. I would acknowledge the situation, confirm facts, explain required documents, avoid jargon, and give realistic timelines. If coverage is uncertain, I would say the claim is under review rather than promising payment. Every call or email should be documented in the system. Good communication reduces repeat contacts, complaints, and escalation risk. Question 12. How should a claim denial or repudiation be handled? The interviewer is testing your understanding of fair claims handling, policy-based decisions, regulatory sensitivity, documentation standards, approval controls, and professional communication in difficult claim outcomes. Be sure to mention policy clauses, exclusions, evidence reviewed, approval process, clear denial reasoning, appeal rights, respectful tone, system notes, regulatory timelines, and customer fairness. A claim denial must be based on policy wording, facts, and documented review, not personal judgment. I would confirm coverage position, exclusions, breach conditions, missing evidence, and approval requirements. The communication should be clear, respectful, and reference the relevant policy clause, appeal rights, and next steps. Internally, the file should show what was reviewed and why the outcome was reached. That protects both customer fairness and regulatory defensibility. Question 13. What would you do if one of your processed claims fails a quality audit? This question evaluates accountability, quality mindset, root cause thinking, openness to feedback, remediation discipline, and your ability to improve process performance without becoming defensive. While answering, focus on understanding the defect, correcting customer impact, informing stakeholders, documenting action, identifying root cause, preventing recurrence, and balancing productivity with accuracy. If a claim fails quality audit, I would first understand whether it is a documentation, decision, calculation, compliance, or system error. Then I would correct the file if possible, inform the supervisor, and identify whether customer impact exists. For repeated errors, I would support root cause analysis, refresher training, checklist updates, or system controls. In operations, quality is not separate from productivity. Rework damages both SLA and trust. Question 14. Why is accurate system updating important in claims operations? The interviewer wants to assess your understanding of system hygiene, structured data, workflow routing, financial postings, management reporting, compliance evidence, and continuity when multiple teams touch a claim. Make sure to cover mandatory fields, claim coding, reserves, activities, diaries, correspondence notes, document status, payment details, reporting impact, audit trail, and avoiding vague free text updates. In claims platforms, the discipline is to update the right field at the right time. I would maintain loss details, coverage status, reserves, activities, document checklist, payment notes, diary dates, and correspondence history. Accurate coding drives reporting, regulatory metrics, financial postings, and work allocation. I would avoid free text-only updates when structured fields exist. Good system hygiene lets any adjuster pick up the file without confusion. Question 15. Suppose you start your shift with 80 pending claims. How would you prioritize them? This question evaluates practical queue management, prioritization under pressure, SLA awareness, escalation judgment, and whether you can protect customer outcomes while maintaining productivity in shared service operations. In your answer, talk about aging, regulatory deadlines, payment approvals, complaints, high-value cases, simple closures, pending reasons, escalation of blockers, capacity communication, and structured queue review. If I enter a shift with 80 pending claims, I would not work only in arrival order. I would segment the queue by SLA breach risk, regulatory deadlines, payment approvals, customer complaints, high-value claims, and items waiting on my action. Quick closures can be cleared, but urgent or sensitive cases come first. I would update pending reasons, escalate blockers, and communicate capacity early. That approach protects service levels and quality. If you are still with us, congratulations! You are much ahead of the rest and serious about preparing for your interview. We hope we were able to add value to your preparation and create some helpful content. Do not forget to like and share this video. Your small act can do great things for us.